to the bull in the post-truth apocalypse. I'm Ben, as always. I'm hanging out with Mike.
Hello.
Clair.
Hey.
Pete. Alright. Today's a movie special. All praise the movie special.
Yeah.
It is Dead Man's Shoes, as picked by Pete.
Yep, one of my favourite films actually. I've liked it for well, probably since about 2005 when I was first introduced to it. Yeah, I've owned it twice because I lost it and had to rebuy it. But yeah,
You know that's commitment when you rebuy a film.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It is genuinely one of my favourite films. It's not got the best script, it's not got the best cast or anything, but it kind of has at the same time.
It's got a good. It's actually the main character, obviously Paddy Considine wrote and starred in this, or
Yeah.
co-wrote and starred in it.
Fantastic actor.
Yeah, brilliant actor.
But not one he's not a household name, is he? He's not
No.
Arnold Schwarzenegger or, you know what I mean?
He got a lot of credit for his role in what's it called, the Game of Thrones prequel,
Not watched it.
House of the
but
Dragon.
Yes.
He plays the Targaryen king
He
in
does,
that,
doesn't he?
and he's brilliant in that.
Okay.
He's absolutely fantastic.
Guy with the black hair.
No, he's got blonde hair because it's their Targaryens, so they have blonde hair.
He needs Sky
No, but
to
in
watch
this
that, don't
film,
you?
was he the guy with the
Oh
black
yeah,
hair?
yeah, yes he was. He was the main character. Right, before we get into that, let's thank some of the returning listeners. I'd just like to say, tell a friend, follow us on Facebook at Cutting the Bull in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. YouTube is Apocalypse Bull, and SoundCloud and Spotify and most other podcasting platforms is Cutting to the Bull in the PTA.
Quick RIP before we forget.
Who's that?
Sir Michael Parkinson.
Oh,
Of
Parky.
course,
Yeah.
Parky. Chat shows will never be the same.
Absolute British legend as far as TV goes. Probably known quite across the world as well because he's interviewed everybody that's worth interviewing, isn't he? Let's face it.
He's never interviewed us.
No.
Well, that's probably because we're not worth interviewing.
I beg to differ, sir.
We're lower than Z-listers.
Yeah, but no, all the A-listers worth Muhammad Ali, Michael Jackson, bloody. You
Mr.
could almost
Probably
list,
Mr. T.
you could probably list any fucking big name.
I think we've all probably sat there and watched an episode of Parkinson at some point in our lives.
100%.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in the UK has? I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to you.
Mr. Parkinson.
So let's go through the list. Hornchurch in the UK, Västerås in Sweden, Aberdare in the UK, Frankfurt am Main in Germany, Fort Myers in Florida, Veringerwerf in the Netherlands. I like
I
that
thought
name.
Aberdare was in Wales.
Oh,
It
well,
is.
it's still the United Kingdom, Claire. They ain't out yet.
Don't offend them, they've only just come.
I do apologise. You're in Wales.
Probably
You're
an English bloke anyway,
But you're also still in the UK.
or lady.
You're king too.
Not my fucking king.
It's not like he likes to wind up the Welsh going. Sorry. Haiti in Missouri, Brussels, Belgium, Madrid in Spain, Bangalore, India, Ashburn, Virginia, Stevenage in the UK, and top is Guadalajara, Spain. Thank you all for listening.
Thank
Tell
you.
a friend, send us a message, give us an episode suggestion.
Ooh, that's the first time you've offered that out.
Nah, we've offered that loads of times. Nobody ever does though.
No,
Oh.
We've said a few times. Give us a subject. Give us a subject, and we'll talk shit about it for 45 minutes. No problem.
That's it. I can talk about most shit things for 45 minutes.
Just shit. There you go. We could probably talk about shit for 45 minutes.
Let's not.
Dog shit, cat
No.
shit, fly shit.
My favourite shit's the ghost shit.
Less smelling.
Yeah.
That's the other one where you convince you've had a shit.
You've had a shit, but you can't. You
You
can't.
wipe
And
and there's
it's
nothing
disappeared.
there.
There's nothing there.
It's like, but then there's nothing in the toilet either.
Yeah.
Like, where the fuck is it?
Definitely had a
It's
shit.
It
gone
may-
straight
Gone
up.
straight up the pipe.
Yeah.
So cylindrically perfect. It just shoots up.
Hey, it's a possibility. It's literally the perfect poop.
So let's not talk about
Let's not talk
poop
about
for
poop
45
for a bit.
minutes. Let's get
Let's-
on to the film.
Let's talk about Dead Man's Shoes, a 2004 British psychological thriller directed by Shane Meadows and starring Paddy Considine, both of whom co-wrote the film with Paul Fraser. The film also stars Toby Kebbell, Gary Stretch and Stuart Wolfenden. Released in the UK on October 2004 and the United States on 12th of May 2006. It took them 3 weeks to film this, and it was literally like a £700,000 budget.
Does show in places, I must admit.
Yeah.
We do like our low budget films though, don't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah. A 7.6 on IMDb.
That's quite a high
That's
rating.
high.
Yeah.
That's quite a high rating.
I'll get into our rating. We'll do our ratings at the end.
Yeah.
What we
74.
74.
Out of 10.
Wow, you're giving it an impossible score. You like it that much.
No, I'm joking.
So Richard, ex-paratrooper, been away in the army, returns to his hometown of Matlock in Derbyshire in the Peak District.
No, it looked like a shithole.
Yeah. As soon as I said Derby, Mike's got to criticise it.
Beautiful part of the country, in all fairness.
It did look quite picturesque.
Rolling
I
hills and small, beautiful old villages and that. It's a lovely place.
Ruined
Well, we didn't see
farms.
that, did we? We saw the buildings that were run down and...
Yeah, but it is a lovely part of the country, that is. You do see snippets of it.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is mine and Mike's first time watching this film.
I'd never heard
it.
of it, to be fair, until
you
Pete
know,
mentioned it.
yeah, I didn't know
And I
what
like
to
the
expect.
director. This is England, sorry, go on.
Didn't know what to expect, you know,
No.
with these like hills and then them going in the car at the, you know, first scenes and that.
There's a lot of walking through the fields and the woods in this one, isn't there?
Yeah.
But you understand why there was that, though, because he was being incognito, wasn't he?
You know what I thought? I was like, why is he dressed as Rambo from First Blood? Because he's got the green jacket. That was like a green army style jacket that Rich is wearing in this film.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
yeah, maybe it's
He's
a
got the blue
homage.
jeans. And I was like, he's dressed like Rambo from First Blood.
It's quite a similar film in a way.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Maybe it is a slight homage to it, then.
Yeah.
Wonder whether they realised that it was.
What I did like was the gritty sort of real life feeling of it.
Oh yeah, it was grimdark.
Yeah.
It was grim. It was life in Derby.
Yeah, you know, because they had loads of, well, just old stuff, wasn't it? It just felt really old.
It's an old mining town, innit? And that it really portrayed that
Yeah.
proper typical kind of terraced old grey.
You had to put the mutants down in the mines when they were filming.
That's it, yeah.
What you suggesting, right? The people of Derby are some kind of flesh-eating
I'm not-
chud.
I'd never make that.
Am I right to say that Nottingham Forest and Derby, for some reason, like have some kind of
I think
Beef.
that's coming out. Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah. I don't think unless Mike's just had a really bad experience in
I
Derby.
know, that's what I was wondering. Is there something you're not telling us, Michael?
Bad night out.
Very bad night out by the sounds of
We
things.
did actually stop in Derby for about 30 minutes on the way back from Nottingham.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it the worst 30 minutes of your life?
It wasn't actually that bad, to be fair.
So Derby's okay.
But you just bred to hate them, aren't you? As a Forest fan.
It's like, as a Liverpool fan, you're bred to hate the Manx.
No,
I'm just playing on that a bit.
I don't like people from Burnley. There you go. Nothing against them personally, just support a rival team. We're all tribal. But Derby, yeah, Richard and his younger mentally impaired brother Anthony camp at an abandoned farm near the town. Flashbacks go on to reveal Anthony's abused by a group of drug dealers in the town, and Richard vows to take revenge. Some of the flashbacks are a bit harrowing, aren't they?
You see, it starts off, and you're like these. I've watched this film many times. And these three are all like, being a bit over the top, ain't he? Getting revenge, like, because at first, the first couple of flashbacks,
They're all having a good time, aren't
Well,
they?
They're bullying him a little bit.
yeah, they're being a bit boisterous with him because he is younger.
Yeah, but it was only a few bongs at first they were giving
Well,
him.
they were feeding him the bongs. He wasn't going to take
They were
them.
egging him on.
Yeah, he wouldn't have taken them off his own steam. No way, no how. They were pretty much forcing him, peer pressure, down this
Yeah.
mentally impaired guy who was a bit younger than them as well. He was only like 18, 19, I believe.
Yeah, they all look like late sort of 30s.
Well, anywhere from that
20 odd to
To mid-60s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an older
yeah,
guy.
yeah. 'Cause there's a couple of older gentlemen that hang around with him as well. There must be like the old school gangsters that kind of been hanging around all their life and never got married and had responsibilities, so they just kept their youth, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or did have. But
So there are
lost it all.
people, there are people like that I know.
There's always that 1 6-year-old bloke who's never done anything and just keeps on going out and getting pissed every weekend.
Yeah.
Like, never got married, never had kids. But
Yeah.
I like my life too much.
But yeah,
Can't
so
argue with that, can you?
obviously as the film progresses, the clips start to show a little more of the bullying that he sustained.
It starts off from being a bit of minor bullying, like, you're having these drugs, to full-on physical and potentially sexual abuse.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There was
Full on.
sexual abuse.
Sexual
He
abuse.
was
Yeah.
was raped by the girl.
He was, yeah.
I don't think he was that bothered by it, by his reaction after.
Well, at first he was a bit...
She didn't want to do it, did she?
No.
She was told, and when he said, you know, you can either have what's in the mystery box or you can suck my dick.
Yeah, we're kind of jumping ahead with this anyway, I suppose, but...
So, you know, Anthony has been abused by these drug dealers, and Richard vows to take revenge. And at that point, me, Mike and Claire were like, that's a bit much, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know. Now, Richard meets Herbie, who's one of the abusers. They're in the pub. Him and Anthony are sat in the pub, Richard and Anthony.
Very, very horrible. It was more like an old cafe, to be honest. But it's a shitty pub cafe thing, wasn't it?
It had some weird decor for a fucking... It's more like a social club, and we had long tables and plastic chairs. That's not you getting over.
With a pool table in the middle.
Yeah.
And he's staring at the bloke, isn't he?
Yeah, but this guy's openly dealing drugs in the pub, and no one's batting an eyelid, old Herbie.
Apart from Richard.
Apart from Richard, who's just staring at him.
Well, Anthony says that's one of them there. So he turns his chair purposefully, doesn't he? And proper, just doesn't take his eyes off him, and it's pretty obvious to everybody in there who could clock this movement that he has got some kind of issue with Herbie.
Yeah,
And then Herbie does a couple of deals, doesn't he? And then he's noticed him and does another deal, and then he still notices him staring him out, and he goes, "You got a fucking problem, mate," or something along those lines.
Who have you got a problem with? Or what?
What are you looking at?
What are you looking
That's
at?
it. What you looking at? And he went, "You cunt!" Just proper lunges forward and says it really menacingly, shouts at the top of his voice, and it's like, "You cunt."
I think Paddy Considine's brilliant in this movie, by the way. You can see you can sort of see in his eyes that he's mentally deranged. Because Richard's got to have some PTSD.
He's been in the army for 8 years.
He's been a paratrooper, so if there's been a war on, he's been there.
This is based with early 90s, we surmised.
So he's probably been through the worst of Ireland.
Yeah, he would have been in Ireland late 80s, early 90s, so some pretty fucking nasty times through that period. And being a paratrooper, believe you me, he saw shit.
Yeah.
He shot people, he got shot at, he saw his friends get killed. I guarantee that, because the paratroopers, they were in the thick of it.
Yeah, they were, and of course the IRA retaliated hardest against them after Bloody Sunday.
Precisely.
So you see the red berets or the parachute insignia, and they target them specifically.
Yeah, but yeah, so he's obviously got some demons in his mind, so to speak.
I'd definitely say so.
And this is the first snippet you see of that.
Then Herbie goes back to this other guy's though, Sonny, who's like the gangster. He's the top gangster, isn't he?
He's a proper greaser, isn't he?
He's a proper grease boy. He's got his hair slicked back. He's got a leather jacket.
Leather jacket, white t-shirt, jeans. He's like the proper early 90s, late 80s, still hanging on to that greaser 70s style kind of thing.
Do you think Grease was his favourite film?
100%.
And obviously Herbie goes back and he sort of gives Sonny the money, he gets more drugs, you know, and he goes out to deal again. But then he bumps into Richard outside Sonny's house, like the back way in.
Outside the back of the club, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry about that earlier, mate, you know."
Don't know what came over me.
He shakes his hand, he apologises to him. Of course, Herbie has no idea who he is. He's probably trying to... He must... I think he's got some recognition for him, because obviously he grew up in the town.
I think he does, because he goes back and he says, "I'm sure that's Auntie's brother."
Yeah.
The two guys in the flat.
Yeah, when he goes to his mates, Soz and Tough, and they're in a flat taking drugs. They love their weed. A lot of marijuana on that one, on them walls, in there, a lot of leaves.
They've even got a fly net that goes over your door, and it's just marijuana leaves.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
You say you had one of them at some point, Claire.
I had a throw that I brought from a festival with the leaves on over my sofa.
Do you think I remember that as well?
Orange one.
Yeah. So they go and they're taking drugs, they're getting high. And he's telling her at the conversation, he's like, "I'm sure that's Anthony's brother, but I can't be sure." Herbie goes to leave. He sees a man in a military gas mask. Actually a Russian military gas mask.
An old one as
An
well.
old
like
Russian.
an old World War II.
Yeah. I think it's in the 70s.
Oh, it's more the Cold War era.
Yeah.
But either way, it's not of modern times.
No, and it's
more
quite
modern then, I guess.
It's quite menacing, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite a scary gas mask. Gas masks are a bit scary anyway.
Yeah, shits it, doesn't he?
Of course he does.
He
I would
really
as well.
shits it, but he does point right at him, because he's through the glass. He's looking through the glass from the entrance to the flats, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's about to walk out the flats when he sees this geese just stood there with his mask on, and because it's dark and there's lights, it kind of highlights just his face pretty much.
Yeah.
But this gas mask, elephant man looking face, and he fucking points right at him, and then he smacks on the window, and this is when Herbie shits a brick and runs back up the stairs very, very quickly. Yeah, and he's shouting at the lads, and he like, lads, there's a man outside, he's fucking down there.
He's elephant man. They're like, right, go on, let's go down.
One grabs a saucepan.
One's got a kitchen knife.
Kitchen knife and a saucepan. They fucking run downstairs.
They're outside. They're looking for him. He's not there. They go back up to the flat.
Yeah.
Oh dear, the drugs are gone.
Everything's gone.
Oh dear,
Flat's been trashed.
Yeah.
flat's been trashed. And I don't know how to say this actually. Shaney stoking.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Not quite sure what that meant.
What it is in very sick patients, it's the name of the breathing pattern that is a sign of impending death.
Okay. Wow.
Oh.
I didn't get
It
that.
was a deep message, wasn't
Yes.
it? Bloody
He
hell.
spray painted that all over the wall, didn't he?
Yeah. And he nicks the drugs, he nicks everything, he trashes the place and out the window.
And this is a couple of floors up.
Yes,
A
yeah.
couple of floors up. He's done this in the time that they've kind of run upstairs, run back downstairs, run outside, had a bit of a look round. Probably a few minutes. So within that time, he snuck round, climbed up a pipe or whatever, got into the flat, quickly trashed it, nicked a bag of drugs.
He's definitely
fucked off.
ninja, isn't he?
Yeah, he's proper.
He's very ninja.
Very
Yeah.
dangerous. He's had proper. He's had more than just. I would say he's had SF training. I would, of some sort.
Batman
he
trained,
did.
if you ask me.
Yeah.
Maybe he's Batman.
Maybe he's even Jedi trained.
He's the Derby Batman.
I would have recognised him if he was.
Yes, of course you would if you'd have recognised the Jedi.
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. With your extensive knowledge of the Force.
I
Yeah.
would have felt it.
I would have felt a disturbance at the soul.
Yeah.
So, no drugs. That's an issue.
Mm.
So the next day, Herbie soz and tough go to Sonny, the leader of the gang. When he answers the door, he's had his face painted like a fucking clown.
Oh, yeah.
A very
very girly clown.
Not an immaculate clown, obviously, but a clown
Well,
nonetheless.
wasn't it more like an old school terrible drag queen? I think it was more that look that he was going for.
You
wasn't
could be
it?
right, actually, because he
Yeah,
had
with
like
the
blue
real big-
mascara,
yeah.
the rouge cheeks.
I
That's it,
thought the
yeah.
clown I did.
No,
Because
it was that old
The
school.
way they pile in that car as well, that old car.
That's it, the
But
Citroen
also in
2CV.
Like a clown car, isn't it? The one
But in
coming
them
out.
days, you'd have your women that dressed up as men. Sorry, men dressed up as women on stage, and they would wear makeup not far from that, and they'd do over the top lipstick and very bright rouge, and then
Yeah.
like stupid big eyebrow things, eyeliner, whatever you call it.
We'll compromise and we'll call it a drag clown.
That'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, it's hilarious.
Yeah, he's done up like a drag clown.
But he hasn't got a clue of this.
No, he doesn't realise, and they're on looking at his face going, for fuck's sake, go on.
And he's stood in the street, and they're all kind of like saying, "Mate, we need to go inside. We should go inside, mate. Come on, mate. Come inside. Come in." And he's like, "What?" He's none the wiser. We should really talk about this inside, mate. Come on.
It turns out that then fellow gang members, Big Al and Gypsy John,
these are the older fellas.
these are the old guys, aren't they?
the old school gangsters.
They've also had their hair and clothes painted during the night, and I don't know which one's which. I'll confess.
Who's the first one that gets killed?
Gypsy John.
Gypsy John.
Right, so-
He's in a suit, and someone's written spray painted knob and put a target on his
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Oh. No, it wasn't number one, was it? No, it was definitely Knob.
Knob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was knob and then a target on the back.
Yeah.
Unless it was, actually, it could have been number one because what happens later foreshadows that.
That's what I was
That
thinking.
could be it.
That's what I was
With a
wondering.
target
The
as well,
target.
yeah.
Looked like a
Wonder
bee to me.
I
It
thought
did look like-
I genuinely thought it was knob.
Yeah.
But it looked
Yeah.
like a bit like nib as well, didn't it? The way
Yeah.
the O was. It was just like a blacked out O, and it wasn't sure whether it was an O or an I.
Considering his sort of handiwork with the face paint, I'm expecting a bit more legibility
Yeah.
on
I
the
think
graffiti.
I'm pretty sure it said Knob. I've always
Could be-
thought it said Knob.
Could be
Either way,
number
he
one.
gets it first, doesn't he? He's the first to get it.
He is. They all suspect each other of playing games, and Herbie tells them Richard's back in town. And they all pile into a Citroen 2CV, a little clone car, as Mike said. And they just see him. He's just stood there, and he's not hiding. He's out, stood there in his Rambo coat.
Well, before this though, they try and work out who's been talking to this ex-soldier, and they go and see the girl, don't they? And they have it out with her first.
It's also implied that's Sonny's daughter, isn't it?
Potentially,
Yeah,
yeah.
with the black hair.
Yeah, yeah. So they all go round and like intimidate this girl, saying, "You've been fucking that soldier. You've been telling him all." And she clearly hasn't. He just knows because he's got some weird connection. He knows the crack basically. He knows of them from his past and things like that, so he knows what happened. But yeah, so then it's after that. Then they're driving down the road, aren't they?
Yeah, and they see him, and he's stood there with Anthony, who just stays off to the side in his Adidas poppers.
Yeah.
Suddenly he gets out. He comes up to him, and Richard literally says to him, "I had your, I could have slit your throat last night. I was looking over you. I had you in the palm of my hand."
Yeah.
And he tells him where he's staying. He's staying at this old farm.
Yeah, just come and get me.
Come and get me. And I might just do that.
Well, he's basically saying to him, "I'm going to kill you all. So you pack all your shit. Come and find me before I find you."
Yeah.
That's pretty much exactly what he's like. Come on. And then he walks off, and he's like, and all the geezers are all sat in this little fucking
Crammed into this car.
little Citroen 2CV. That's what it is, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
little Citroen 2CV. They're all fucking sat in this stupid little car.
He's got to chin him. He's got to chin him. No,
Yeah,
no.
and-
She's sussing him out. He's sussing him out.
That's all. We could all just get out and chin him, and like, no, just leave him to it. Leave him to it. Yeah, funny as fuck. And then he comes back in. And he's like, "Needs drive off."
Yeah.
What? They're all
Because he
confused.
realises he's not scared of him when everyone else in the town is scared of him.
Yeah. He's been used to being the bully
Yeah.
boy.
And to be fair, Paddy Considine plays a great part in this bit as well, because he's like, the intensity in his eyes is like, those are the eyes of a crazy man.
It would scare almost anybody,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yeah. Sonny decides that he's going to shoot him.
Yeah. And so they go to the farm, and he sends in Big Al to draw Richard out.
Well, first of all,
Oh no, we missed a bit. So the gang are playing cards in the
yeah,
back.
they
of
all go.
the
They all go
club.
back to the club, don't they, to try and
Yeah.
make a plan.
They have a plan. And when Gypsy John goes to the toilet, Richard, having sneaked into the house, kills him with an axe,
Yeah.
using the dead man's blood to smear the words "one down" on the wall. So number 1 on the back of the shirt, on the jacket.
Potentially, but I do think it said knob, but
Yeah.
maybe it was like knob 1. Also, I don't know. Who knows? There might have been something in it.
Well, either way, he's
Brutal.
dead.
Yeah, he was the
Brutal
first
anyway,
one. Yeah.
Writing in blood on the wall. Nothing sends a message like writing something in the dead guy's blood on the wall, does it?
Especially
That
when,
alone sends a message, doesn't it?
Yeah,
especially when he was just about to go for a crap.
I know. I mean, that's getting killed on the toilet or going to the toilet. It's not what you
Yeah.
want. Give me a little bit of dignity. So the next morning they go to the farm where Richard is staying with Anthony, sending in Big Al to draw Richard out. Sonny prepares to shoot him with a rifle with their only round. This explains when we were
Yeah,
like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it seemed a bit odd why they just didn't
It's not
shoot
something
again.
you don't come across rounds easily, though, do you?
Not in Britain, no.
No. So maybe, like, yeah, it's understandable, isn't it?
so Sonny prepares to shoot him. However, he misses and kills Big Al.
Straight in the back of the
Straight
head.
in the back of the head with a telescopic sight at probably no more than 20 metres away. Sonny can't shoot for shit.
Or the rifle was just completely
Or that
off.
sight's completely out.
Yeah.
But either way, I suppose if you've got one round, you can't zero your sights, can you? That's your problem.
He did shoot it. He did push him at the same time, though, didn't he?
I get the feeling Richard might have pushed him in a little bit into the line of fire.
See, Richard probably being very skilled in what he's done for the past 8 years, he was probably clocking exactly what Sonny was doing, knew exactly where he was fucking pointing it, and he was probably like, alright, I'll just push you over there a bit, boom. It could have been that calculated even, because that distance, you can see a big fucking rifle. You can see exactly where it's aimed. If you know if you're looking down the barrel of that rifle, it's aimed at you. If you're not looking down the barrel of it, guess what? It's not aimed at you. So,
Well, either way, R.I.P. Big Al. Number 2's down.
with very little
In
effort.
all fairness, Big Al deserved to die, not just for the abuse he gave to.
He was one day from retirement. Man. He was about to give up his life of crime.
Not only for the abuse he ditched out to Anthony, but also the fact he was wearing double denim, and it wasn't the apocalypse.
Was for him.
Yes, it was for him. But either way, Double denim, that's a no-no for me. Deserve to die. The surviving members then beat a hasty retreat. They've got no rounds left. But the car breaks down because it's a bag of shit. Tough.
The clutch is gone.
Yeah, the clutch is gone. And Tough at this point has a mini sort of fuck this, I'm out of here
Guy with
moment.
the most ironic name.
Yeah.
Tough.
Guy downstairs is moving his furniture
Oh,
again.
yes, yeah.
Fucking hell. I think he does it. He must know. You must know that what you're doing. He's like, oh, right, they're all there.
Every
filming that
fucking
podcast.
Saturday for fucking 6 years.
I'm going to move the furniture around. What the fuck is he doing?
It's probably his feng shui time. This is the time he has to, at the sundown on a Saturday, he has to align his furniture for the following week. That's what it is. It's feng shui.
Sorry, if you do hear like funny, big, loud, farty noises, that is the noise. It's the downstairs moving furniture, we can only assume.
Well,
Or it's Jeffrey O'Dahmer's kind of English version of him living beneath us.
maybe.
Me.
Has anyone offered you any meat recently, like?
Anyone offered you meat recently?
No.
Trying to pull it off as pork.
Yeah. I bought you a pork sandwich, perhaps.
Pork sword, maybe.
Oh, well, okay.
Just his dick between two slices of bread. Hang on, this isn't right. Tough does one. He's out of there. He's like, he's going to kill us all. I'm gone.
Freaks out, doesn't he?
He runs away. They all get back to Sonny's house where Richard is already waiting for them.
In the meantime, though, what I just interject between that little bit, so you've got like the breaking down of the car, them all bitching and fucking Tough wanting to run away because he's crying and that. It then goes back to Richard and Anthony sat in their little farmland bit. Richard's got all the drugs that he had stolen from the previous night or a couple of nights ago when it was. He's just mashing it all up together, pills, coke, whatever,
Acid.
speed. He finds some acid, mixes it all in, and then he got that in a bag and he's like, yeah, I'm going to send them on a high, man. So I think they're going to go to space, man. And they ain't coming back off this spaceship. Then he's just chatting away to Anthony, and Anthony's just like going, just kind of like looking at him, kind of smiling, agreeing, and yeah, Whew. Yeah, there's a lot there, kind of, and you just see these little snippets of them two just chatting in the farmhouse, in between all these little bits of action that are going on. You get these little couple of moments of that pureness of the brotherly love.
Yeah, Anthony's like really looks up to him, doesn't he?
I just felt we needed to put that in because it's one of the key parts of the film, isn't it? You get to learn that pure love that he has for his mentally
challenged,
mentally challenged, mentally impaired younger brother, who he's clearly, obviously, always kind of looked out for, and his brother's always clearly idolised Richard.
Yeah.
Always idolised Richard, hadn't he?
Well, they're having a chat, sat in them tyres, aren't they? And he's like, oh, you were really good at football, weren't you? Everyone clapped for you.
Yeah.
You know, and he's just like, all of Richard's achievements, he's reading back to him because he looks up to him that much.
Well, he went to his school, didn't he? He went to his school and he won the race and he raised loads of money and all the kids wanted to hold his hands. And then he says, well, I didn't hold your hand. He says, I don't need to hold your hand, do I?
Yeah.
And it's just like one of those little touching moments that brings those little lumps to your throat and you think, oh, it's beautiful, like, because you see this fucking rough nutter of a bloke.
He's already killed 2 men.
Yeah, but then you see that little snippet of the heart and the love that he has for his little brother. Like, he obviously tolerates all sorts of environments for the sake of his little brother.
Yeah. Sleeping on some pallets.
Yeah.
Looks painful.
Yeah.
Richard is hiding in the kitchen pantries. They all go around searching the house with their little makeshift weapons. Like, somebody's got a crossbow.
One guy's got a sword.
That's it. One's got a sword. Katana.
It's like a katana of sorts, isn't it?
Probably a replica that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then one gets a little fucking dagger and he's like,
It
I've
might
got
have
a bigger sword.
It might have actually been a military sword. I think it might have been a military sword, it was, to be honest. So they're not even actually sharp. But you'd still stab someone with it.
Unless it's a World War II vintage one.
Potentially, but I think it was a military sword of sorts. And then, he passes Herbie his little dagger, about 3.5 inch little fat little dagger. And he's like, you got something bigger, sonny. And he's like, nah, it's all right. Don't worry, you won't see this. He's hold it down and just jab it in, and he won't see it, kind of thing. Just try and make it. And he's like, army issue. And he's like, yeah, he is fucking army. He's trained. He is trained army. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do with that kind of thing?
These guys are fucking jokers, though, aren't they? Let's face it.
Very much so. And the fact that they don't look under the stairs, where he was hiding all the time, just by the kitchen under the stairs. Oh, for fuck's sake. First place you'd look in it.
You'd check a cupboard, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you're checking under the bed.
Any kind of cupboard that's man-sized, you'd be looking in it, wouldn't you? Stab. Right, there's no one in it. Good.
Knock, knock.
Yeah.
And so he puts the drugs in the kettle, doesn't he?
Yeah, all that bag of however many different drugs concocted together.
Because even British gangsters drink tea, don't they?
Of course they do.
Yeah. And obviously that was the first thing they do when they feel like, okay,
we're safe.
The house is clear, we can relax. Let's get the brew on.
Yeah.
So they get the brew on.
And the pot noodle.
And a pot noodle, yeah. The one of them has the pot noodle. Soz has a pot noodle, doesn't he?
He does.
And and then the next thing you know, they're sat in the bathroom together because they're all hanging around together. They're not leaving each other's side. That's been predetermined within this. They're staying in the room with each other no matter what. Sonny's having a quick bath. Soz is having a shit. a really nasty, stinking, runny, smelly shit by the sounds and looks of it and the reactions. and then they all go downstairs, and then the next thing you know, they're all sat in the living room, and Sonny's doing weights, and they're all drinking and smoking, and then they start tripping because the tea starts to kick in.
Could you take that much drugs, all mixed together, all different types, or would you just shut down?
Well, I think the fact that it was boiled in water would have probably lessened the effect of a lot of the drugs. It would have, definitely, because boiling water kills a lot of shit. So there would still be stuff in it that, like the acid, that would have an effect.
Well, plus some of it would have boiled off, wouldn't it?
That's the thing. A lot of it would have boiled off within the boiling process, but enough there to have give some weird effect when you've got all these different drugs all mixed together.
So one by one, they are completely intoxicated, let's say.
Yeah.
But at no point does anyone like question it? Do they were just fucked up? No one goes, "You've been fucking drugged." No one says it, do they?
No.
That's true.
Sonny says he doesn't feel right at one point, and then Soz is going, "Does my face look like it's melting?
Yeah.
My face feels funny." And
at that point, you'd be like, "I think we're fucked."
But I think at that point, it was too late for him, because once it started kicking in, it obviously hit him like a fucking wave, and it was like boom, boom, boom.
You ain't standing up after that, are you?
Yeah, a bit of acid kicked in first, I think, and they were a bit like, "Ooh, I feel a bit funny. My face is melty." Then the coke and the pills and all the other little bits and bobs that were in there started just go, "Oh, my turn." Have that.
It is the worst trip ever about to have it.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
He literally just drags Sonny into another room, puts a plastic bag over his head, and executes him with a revolver shot to the head.
He just comes in and he starts toying with them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's making him stand up and dance at his party. He's like, "Dance at my party. You're enjoying my party. Come on." And they're all just kind of almost going with it in almost like a fully controlled manner. Like they are being completely controlled, but they're letting themselves be controlled. So they're obviously so scared of him, and
they're
all
fucked, man. They can't do
and
anything.
they know they must know, like, there's fuck all I can do about this. Fuck it, I'll just do what he says. But,
it's a question of like, this is the baddest trip I'm on ever. Because you would be thinking that, because you obviously all you're thinking about is him turning up.
Yeah, so
So
might
that
not
you
even
get
think he's real.
But you don't think he's real. There's like, this is just a bad trip. He's not in the house. The doors are locked. Everything's fine.
Well, he doesn't really touch him, Arthur.
He won't let him touch him.
He doesn't.
He
do
goes.
fuck all,
He
does
goes to
Soz,
I think it is. Goes to touch him, and he just moves out the way. He doesn't touch him. He just moves out the way.
He just, "Don't fucking
Takes a
touch
step.
me."
Don't fucking touch me. So he must think at that point. He must be thinking this is the baddest trip.
Well,
of
he
mine
then
ever.
starts saying, "You're the devil," and he's like, "No, I'm not the devil."
Oh,
He's like, "You're
that's it.
Jesus." He's like, "No, I'm not Jesus." He's like, "You're the devil," and he's like laughing like, "You're the
I don't
devil."
think they were scared of him at all because they're that wasted.
Yeah, Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
But then he drags Sonny off, then he sticks a bag over his head and fucking full on shoots him in the top of the head, execution style.
Well,
It's
the other
like,
two didn't bat an
gone.
eyelid though, did they? Because they didn't,
Well,
wouldn't
they
have
took
been
him in the
like-
kitchen, didn't really know fuck all about it,
He'd
did
have been
they?
gunshot though.
Yeah, but
So
they're
they
pretty.
they're so wasted they didn't even realise.
Yeah, or they're too wasted to fucking get up
Yeah.
as well.
It's what he did to Soz. I thought was quite.
Yeah, the
brutal.
upward palm strike to the nose. Isn't that a myth?
No. If you can break the nose in the right place, the bone can just go. It can go straight up, and it just goes right into the brain.
I'm gonna find this out now. Keep talking.
That was brutal. That was.
But he just kind of makes him stand there, and
Yeah.
he just stands there, and he says, "Right, I'm going to end it now." He's, "I'm going to, yeah," and he just stands still. That's it. You stand there, and he stands there completely straight. And he's whack, and he just falls down.
A palm strike to the nose can't kill you by driving the nose bone into your brain. It's a common misconception devoid of the knowledge of human anatomy and the amount of blunt force trauma the nose can take. However, death can occur through concussion if you fall and hit your head on the ground.
That's obviously what happened there.
That's from Combat Krav, a Krav Maga site.
I don't know how reliable he is.
Krav Maga is a pretty brutal martial art.
Either way,
I'll just check Quora.
it's been done in many films, hasn't it? It's
Well,
got
it's
that that
Hollywood
artistic
license,
license,
yeah.
isn't it? It's that artistic license. But either way, that's how he finishes him off. Not a nice way.
I don't like the one where he stabs him in, stabs the guy that's just sitting
Young
in the
Herbie.
chair. Yeah.
After he shows him that suitcase where Tuff's corpse is inside, it's all bent
Yeah,
up. And
because all you got left then is young Herbie tripping out, and he goes up to Herbie and makes out like he's forgiven Herbie. He's like, "You're a good man," and he's like, "Oh, right." He's like,
I
"Yeah,
love
you're
you."
a good man," and he's like, "Oh, okay."
In all the flashbacks, though, Herbie didn't seem the worst out of the lot of them.
No,
did he?
No, he wasn't. But he was one of them, wasn't he? So in Richard's eyes, that was good enough. And it turns out there was another guy that he hasn't, that's not hanging around with him anymore. But he wants to know where this other guy lives. So he basically cons him and says, "Look, if you tell me, I'll let you live."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Will you?" He's like, "Yeah, don't worry, you're a good man." Shakes hand, gives him a hug, and then he's like, yeah, he tells him where the other guy lives. He doesn't know the street, but he gives him the town. That's enough. It's all he needed. Then he finds Herbie's little knife.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Was this for me? Was this for me?" And Herbie's like, No. He's like, "Go on. You might as well tell me, mate." He's like, Was this for me?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Oh, mate, don't worry about it. Come here." Gives him a hug and fucking sticks it right in the top of his ribs and just...
Yeah.
Right, yeah, nasty way to
Between
die.
the third and fourth rib.
Yeah, straight up into the lung, give it a twist, bleed out within a few seconds.
Then you need a 3.5-inch blade to kill.
Yeah, quite easy to be dead within a few seconds from that. But yeah, so then that's it then, little Herbie's gone.
Yeah. The next day, Richard arrives in a nearby town where the final gang member Mark lives with his wife and 2 sons. A bit creepy at this point because he's like approaches the kids when they're at the park and he gives them a knife and what else does he give them?
The mask.
Gas
The mask,
yeah.
the gas mask.
And it's the knife that he'd killed Herbie with
Yeah.
as well.
And then, a soldier gave it to us. And the mother's obviously very angry with them, sends them upstairs. Mark returns home, the final gang member. He immediately kind of shits his pants a bit, takes the kids out to look for Richard. Richard goes and talks to the mum.
He's waiting, watching already. He's watching the house. So as soon as they leave, he goes and knocks on the door, doesn't he?
He speaks to the mother. He tries to intimidate her a little bit. She says, "No, you gave my son a knife. I'm a good. You a good mother? Yes, I'm a good mother. You shouldn't keep away from the kids." When Mark returns, he then realises who the fuck it is.
Yeah, because he says, "My name's Richard,
Yeah.
Anthony's brother."
That's it, Anthony's
And
brother.
then she tells him when he gets home, "Yeah, he said it was Anthony's brother," and he goes white like a ghost, and he
does.
Thing, and
I'd imagine some poo comes out.
yeah, a little bit.
He tells them the tale of what happened to Anthony, and this is where the twist comes in because we've been seeing Anthony all through the film, haven't we?
Yeah.
Either by Richard or talking to him.
Or flashbacks.
Or in flashbacks. But at this point, we remember that we go to a flashback here where they're all in the castle up on the hill taking acid, and the bullying goes to a whole new level there. The abuse goes to a whole new level, doesn't it? They're beating him up, beating Anthony up, kicking him on the ground. They put a noose around his neck and they lead him to this little the devil's room.
Yeah. The devil's
Is it
house
called?
or something.
The devil's house. And they're pretending to hang him, and they're putting his head through the rope through the door. His head's against the window. It's like they're threatening to kill him. They're beating him. He's calling out for Richard.
It's brutal.
It is brutal.
And they say to him, look, if you keep shouting out, Richard's going to get shot. Your mum's going to get sick.
Yeah.
So you've got to be quiet. Otherwise, your brother's going to get shot in the army. You're going to get a bullet in the head. So you've got to be quiet. So they fucking leave him there, don't they? And like lock him in this, well, not lock him in this room, but make him stay in this room.
Yeah.
And obviously, between him tripping his tits off and his mental state in normal circumstance for him, obviously it was too much for him, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Anthony takes his own life by hanging.
Yeah.
So at that point we realise in the film that we've got a bit of a Fight Club situation going on with Anthony and Richard.
Is it Fight Club or is it Ghost?
Well, he's...
Well, is it though? Is it the
Ghost,
spirit of his brother?
or is he just living
As
inside?
a Fight Club, he is himself. Tyler Durden is him.
Oh yeah. Well, he's still seeing him.
Yeah.
You know, he's seeing Tyler. He's looking through his own eyes and seeing Tyler when he's Tyler.
Yeah.
He's either imagining his brother, he's basically his imaginary friend, or his brother's spirit's following him around, and he's genuinely got some weird connection and talks to his brother. Because I know lots of people who've died, and their partner.
You know lots of people who've died.
Yeah, and their partner
Oh,
still
they
speaks to him.
They didn't come back and tell you.
No, like
Are they here now?
No, their partner speaks to him,
Well,
things like that.
Yeah, all right. That's your own personal belief. I personally think it's absolute bollocks.
Well, it's not my belief that someone speaks to their partner, because they do, and I'm saying that's what they do.
Well,
so
do
whether it's like an imaginary version of their partner and they're still having the day-to-day.
That's a grieving process.
I'm talking things like your nan, when your nan dies and your granddad still has conversations with her and things like that. And he truly believed that he'd be having conversations with her, and he hadn't lost his plot at that point.
Could be PTSD.
But that's what I mean. So is it that kind of scenario where it's just like an imaginary friend? Or is it implied that that's his spirit following him around? You don't know, do you?
No.
It's never.
Christ's sake! I hope he told him to kill the right people. Because because he says Richard at one point. Anthony says to Richard, "That's one of them."
Well, this is what made.
Richard doesn't know that's one of them.
But this is what led me to believe that it was the spirit of Anthony following him around, because Anthony pointed him out and said, that's one of them. He was like, is it? Okay, because he didn't know who he was until he was pointed out to him.
What if it's the wrong guy?
But that's what made me think it was the spirit of him. And I have done for years, ever since watching it. I think I've always assumed it was the spirit of Anthony.
That could be the director's intention, yeah.
You can interpret it anyway.
And for moments like that, obviously.
The next morning, Richard takes Mark hostage, and he takes him to where Anthony hanged himself and demands he tell him his part in what happened. And Mark explains how his fault was in fact not stopping the abuse. Mark wasn't really comfortable with it all, was he?
No, you could tell he wasn't, because it showed you the snippets throughout again, and it concentrated on Mark. So when all these different events were going on, like at the time when they made him have sex with the girl and all, they were all kind of slapping him and being a bit boisterous with him, he'd always be looking a bit like, oh guys, don't, what are you doing? Like,
standing to the rear of it all as well, off to the side. So when we're seeing the flashbacks of originally of it happening, and you're not really seeing Mark, are you?
No.
He stood off to the side while a lot of it's happening, like, I'm with these guys, but I'm not with these guys.
And it's clearly obvious that he left 5, 6, 7 years ago, and he's got married, he's moved out of town, he's done with that gang of pricks.
He's got 2 kids.
Exactly, he's got a couple of 6, 7-year-old lads, like, you know what I mean? So it was obvious that he'd washed his hands of that kind of life anyway.
He'd settled down, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Richard confesses to killing the other men. He does that great line where he's like, God's gonna forgive him, and I can't let that happen.
Yeah.
You know, he tells Mark that he feels like a monster. even though he admits he considered his brother a spastic and an embarrassment. I've read somewhere an opinion online where that thinks that Richard thought that Anthony was weak because he's quite a strong guy, isn't he? Well, not at this point because but he has been, athletic, in the army, paratrooper, highly driven, highly motivated. He'd probably look down at Anthony as being weak secretly.
At times of his life, certainly you'd have thought that maybe he was embarrassed by his brother, maybe in their younger years, things like that, and that's maybe how he truly felt inside, or maybe he was almost like a shock, trying to get out of
or is it that
the other guy kind of thing.
Didn't think Anthony was a spastic and an embarrassment until he killed himself because he was hanging around with those clowns.
Maybe.
And that's when he decides he's weak because not only he took his own life, he didn't have the balls to just not go and be with those guys.
Easily impressionable though, wasn't he?
That's it. Obviously he's quite mentally impaired, isn't he? So, but he tells Mark that he now feels like a monster, and he gives the knife to Mark and demands he kill him lest he continue his monstrous ways. And he even says, like, you got 2 kids, you've got a wife, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm a monster.
He said, I came to you thinking you're the monster, but I'm now the monster. He says, you should have been the monster, but I'm the monster.
You turned me into this.
Yeah, you've turned me into this because you didn't fucking stop it. Yep. You could have stopped it, you could have helped my brother, but because of you, I'm the fucking monster, so stop it. You end this for me now, because I don't know what I'm capable of. And that's basically it, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mark stabs him.
He makes him stab him.
Yeah.
He physically makes him stab him.
He grabs his hand and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He physically makes him stab him. But he goads him and goads him and goads him until finally Mark just does give that lift and takes it straight into his gut and quick twist or whatever, just to try and hopefully make it quick, I'm assuming.
Yeah, possibly. Well, more than likely.
Yeah. Because he wasn't a monster, that other guy. He was one of those guys that was hung around with a bad crowd, never really was one of them, but clearly got out. Yeah. Family man, got his life on track.
He's still going to have issues with the police, isn't he?
Yeah, that was I was going to say, Claire, do you want to expand on that?
The aftermath,
The aftermath of it, because it'll still be manslaughter, won't it? Even though, you could say, we got into a fight and, it was him or me.
Or self-defence, yeah.
Self-defence, but still.
It's his word against the dead man, isn't it?
Yeah, but Richard has just killed 5 or so.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'd probably...
He's broke into your home and kidnapped you as well, remember?
Yeah, you'd probably get away with it.
You might get away with that, yeah.
If you told them the fucking truth...
Although your, obviously, mental state may deteriorate because you've taken a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite easily.
But maybe that's the penalty for not doing anything.
The price to pay for standing back and not saving Anthony when he could have.
Yeah.
Being weak himself.
His penance, in a way.
He could have stood back and said, no, I ain't getting back in the van. I'm going to fucking make sure he's alright. Fuck off, you twats. That's what I'd have done. 50 cuffs with a few people, I'd have done it. Don't care.
Well, they're all high on acid anyway. Because was you're high on acid at the time as well.
Yeah, but yeah.
It's going to impair your judgment.
Yeah, shame. Great story. A tragic story in lots of ways.
Yeah, it's a family destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah, beautifully cast.
Oh yeah, really well cast.
Well
the acting's good. Yeah, it was all right.
Great little plot twist.
I like the plot twist
because most people do think Anthony's with him, and then at
Yeah.
the end you're like, "Ah,
Huh? What? He's dead? Oh no!
I know that was my reaction the first time I watched it, and I remember showing it to my old friend Ian and that, and he kind of like, he was a bit like that. He was like, "What?" Like looked at me a bit bemused.
At
So,
first,
like,
I
I
thought
wasn't expecting that.
it's a bit of an overreaction what he was doing.
Yeah.
Because you don't see the end. You don't
No.
see what happens to
No,
Anthony.
this
you
is
think
it.
he's still alive.
And it's only at the
You're
end.
like, fucking hell, this guy is a right psychopath. Okay,
That's what the British Army does to you. 8 years in the Paras, you just come back home, start killing people.
And it's literally in that last 10 minutes though that you realise Okay, he wasn't being over the top as such. He was getting proper revenge.
Still
for his
slightly
brother's
over
death.
the top. He did
Yeah, of course it was.
torture and murder people in cold blood.
Of course it was over the top, but it was a just revenge in a sense.
You can see why he thought it was a just
Yes,
revenge,
yes. With his obvious PTSD,
yeah.
things like that.
He-
He was a bit of a loose cannon.
Yeah.
He's come out of a workplace and he's utilising his skills.
Yeah, that's it. They didn't train him up to be brickies in them days. They'd fucking send you out with the skills you had.
Yeah.
He was a killing machine. That's what he knew.
It's a valid point.
He did well by his trade.
I will say though that my only criticism of this film, like, is how just fucking easy it was for him to kill everybody. I was expecting like at least one of them to kind of like maybe hurt him in some way. He goes away, does a little bit of a montage, comes back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he even dyed one guy's hair
Yeah.
while he slept.
There's being drunk, right, and there's being that drunk he can stand over you shaking a graffiti can, and you don't wake up.
I don't know. I've painted some very drunk people's faces before now, expecting them to wake up, and they don't wake up. It's fucking great.
Well, okay.
Varnishing on
Sometimes I
shirts.
thought the shaky camera work, you know, it was meant to look sort of authentic
Real, yeah.
and real. Sometimes it did make me feel a bit nauseous, a little bit, queasy in places.
You'd be fucked watching the Blair Witch Project then, wouldn't you?
Oh, I've seen it as shit, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bag of shit.
Actually, I just felt ill watching that. I think I left.
There was some funny bits in it, like all piled in that car.
Yeah.
This is it has a bit of everything in the film, and it's meant to as well. It's meant to be a little bit funny, gritty, bit fucking sick. It's got all the different elements, really, isn't it? Bit of a thriller, bit of suspense,
Remind you of your local drug dealer's house.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
It was kind of a bit of a wave of gritty British revenge thrillers / action movies that came out. There was definitely Outlaw came out about this time with Sean Bean and Danny fucking Dyer.
Dog Soldiers around that kind of time as well.
It probably wasn't far off.
I
Yeah.
know it was slightly different, but
That's
it was a
fucking
similar,
fair.
very similar feel. It's got that British gritty feel, isn't it?
Mm.
So
Like-
what would you give it out of 10? Film.
I think
Clair,
IMDb's pretty fair, you know, it kept me
Yeah.
engaged.
7.6.
Yeah.
I'll go a bit lower. I'll go a 6.9. I think Paddy's really good in it though, just because it's good. I don't think it's 7.6, but fair enough.
No, I wrote 7.1 after the film.
Yeah, I'd put it at an 8.
8 for Pete. That's fair enough.
I always enjoyed it. And
Yes.
one of the things I really enjoyed about it was you could believe he's ex-army. He had a very good army persona, because people that have been in the army for a few years have a particular walk, they have a particular accent, they have a way about them, the way he stood, the way he held himself. It was very, you've been a soldier for 8 years. And he
Well,
pulled
not just any soldier either, really. One of the best in the
completely. But he really pulled that off very believably, because you don't have to be some big muscle-bound hard nut that a lot of people assume, like your American kind of soldiers. You always think when you see anything with American soldiers, they're always big and burly, aren't they? 90% of the time, whereas 90% of our British forces probably not much more built than I am.
Well, they're usually quite lean, aren't they?
That's what I mean. But they're fucking strong
It's
and they're very
lean.
fit.
It's that
Lean, mean, killing machine.
it's that farmer's strength, innit?
Yeah,
You've got a thin
exactly.
body, but you're strong as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. You might not be very big, but Jesus, you'll tackle any big fucker, and it's one of them. And he pulls it off brilliantly, and I think this one of the things that gives it that 8 for me is Paddy's performance.
Don't get me wrong, best thing about the film.
100%. And
He sold it to me.
that's why I
Yeah.
liked the film. Was Paddy. Nothing
Yeah.
else in it was just Paddy. It really was. It opened. I saw it. It must have been 2004, 2005 when I watched it, and he was a nobody at that point. I think I may have seen him in. I may not have ever seen him. I don't know, but I remember that really opened my eyes to him as an actor, and I always enjoyed anything I've ever seen with him in it. If I've ever seen him, I'd watch the film.
You really should check out House of the Dragon then.
Yeah, I just haven't got Sky.
Yes, sadly.
Should we call it a day then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm Ben. Thanks for listening. Don't join the flame raid. Don't join the cult.
I'm Mike. Thanks for listening. Peace out. May the force be with you.
I've been Claire, keep an open mind, but not so open that it spills out your ears.
And I've been Pete. Everybody have a nice week. Take care. Bye.